full lineup. Martinez on the inside, Torrieri of Italy, Blinov of Russia. Not sure about Nemeth. No, he has pulled out, so they've all moved in one lane. And then it's Van of Sweden, Marlon Devenish and Paul Brizzel, the Irish record holder, on the outside. Well, that's a strange camera angle. Marlon Devenish, though, got off to a cracking start. Paul Brizzel outside him. Van of Sweden is going well. And in lane 2, Torrieri of Italy, Marlon Devenish, and Torrieri of Italy in lane 3. Marlon Devenish just has a little look across. It's Devenish, Torrieri, and then Blinov and Van of Sweden. 20.81 seconds, and that looked very comfortable indeed.
Oh, that's an interesting one there. Paul Brizzel could actually claim that that crane seemed to get in his way, and he had to swerve and duck underneath him, which would cost him a couple strides, and he lost his drive pattern, lost the power out of the block. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens from there.
Let's just clarify that result, Paul.
Well, we can, and Paul Brizzel is there in last place, 21.32.
Well, the 3 British athletes through, but I've got to say that is the most bizarre and dangerous incident I think I've ever seen on a track.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that in all my years of athletics. And, you know, we've seen that time and time again here, which speaks to the organization here. When you see cameramen walking out in front of athletes, and you see officials walking out like we did in the walks. I mean, it's unbelievable. And there's no excuse for that. And that's one thing that, you know, with athletes, I mean, the athletes come here, one thing that you expect to have at a championship event is good organization, because you don't want to have to be concerned about these other things.
And a cameraman and a producer that knows when the race is going to start.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it really was, you know, it's very, very dangerous.
Look at this.
I mean, fortunately, Paul Brizzel is not an athlete who keeps his eyes on the ground for the first 30 metres. Darren Campbell, for example, who was also in the outside lane in his heat, if you watch Darren, he keeps his head right down for the first 20, 30 metres. Doesn't look anywhere, just looks down on the track. If that was Darren Campbell, you imagine running into a camera that was also coming towards and coming up. You know, it really doesn't bear thinking about, because you know, that could have been seriously, seriously dangerous.
But what was even more bizarre is that nobody really knew what the rules were.
Well,
it was left to a track official?
I think what happened in the end is that Paul Brizzel and the Irish team looked at what had happened.
Yeah, protested.
And then what do you do? What do you do in that situation? It's almost the first time this has happened. I can't think of anything like this before. And apparently what happened was the senior track official made a decision on his own to let Paul Brizzel actually then come out an hour or so later and run on his own in the outside lane and try and get a time that will qualify him for the next round. Now, I've never seen that before.
Well, this is him. I mean, this is about an hour and a half after the race. The most of the crowd had gone home, and there he is out on his own.
That's, to my knowledge, I'm with Roger, that's never happened before. I know there have been situations in track events where the officials ruled that an athlete had an unfair disadvantage, and what they did was just went ahead and put that athlete in the next round.
Yes.
And if that athlete then got eliminated, but to have an athlete run all by himself, it wouldn't even count for anything. Let's say it won't happen, it wouldn't have happened because he didn't even make it into the next round, but let's say he broke a world record. It wouldn't count.
Yeah, there's his time, which wasn't enough to get in.
1-1-9. I mean, what were their options? To say, no, sorry, tough luck, or to say, OK, we'll put you into the next round? But if they'd done that, which is going on later on tonight in an hour's time or whatever, then they would have had to have, instead of having 3 races, they've had to have 4 races of less people. You couldn't have had 8 people in each race because you've got an odd number of athletes. So you know, that would have probably, I thought that's what they might have done, but they probably looked
because
at
the end of the day, it's not his fault, and yet it looked almost as though he's being penalised by having to run again, and then possibly, if he had qualified, to run again tonight.
You should never, ever come to a championship, and I mean, it's hard enough anyway. You don't come to a championship and have to worry about running into cameras.
They've got to look at this. I mean, I just...
Well, I think that what will probably happen is someone from the IAAF will probably, you know, there'll probably be a reprimand to that senior official, because, you know, you don't just make that decision on your own. And if they gave him 2 hours, I mean, that means that they've got 2 hours to go back and decide, okay, we don't know what to do here. Let's go back, look at the rule books. There's rules for everything. And I believe that it's my opinion that the rule book probably says, because I've seen this kind of thing in other situations where it's not a camera in the track, that's the first time that's happened, but other types of situations like this, and that athlete is just put into the next round.
Yeah.
There are 24 athletes in this semifinal tonight, 3 rounds, 8 athletes each. They could have just had 4 rounds, 6 athletes in each round, same qualification process.
It certainly would have been fair, and I just want to tell you it was not a BBC camera. We were there at Manchester and it all worked perfectly, but it certainly wasn't a BBC camera. But you do feel very, very sorry for Paul Brizzel of Ireland.